So it's competition time again. Thank you ever so much for submitting your beautiful pieces. It was quite a tough category this time with heroes and villains, so lots of people went for characters. So well done to everybody for putting all that effort in and having a go. We've also got a new system for collecting all the submissions, so hopefully I haven't missed anybody out. So let's take a look at how you got on. So first up we've got Chris Stone. They were the first to submit, and it's a really nice piece. It's an excellent model and it must have taken a long time to put this together. It looks like it's sculpted in a lot of places and then sort of arrayed. I like the way it's lit with this sort of purple light that's sort of coming from underneath. To take this to the next level, I think actually posing the model so it's not got so much symmetry would be a great idea, and it would just make the image seem more vibrant. Excellent work. Next up we've got Lyra, and they've obviously spent a lot of time on this piece as well. It was good that they got feedback from people and they have certainly improved. This is a nice angle now. It's worth looking up angles because a high angle like this makes someone seem insignificant, and a low angle where you're looking up at someone makes them seem more dominant. Good depth of field, which helps to isolate the characters and make them seem more interesting in the frame. And of course the story is Blender being the major superhero and Maya being the villain. Bit harsh perhaps, but I'm sure it's popular amongst our forum. So it's a great piece of work there, but to take it to the next level I would think about anatomy and concentrate on those aspects. It looks like you're taking a base mesh of a human, because they're quite detailed, and then posing them, but it just needs a bit of work, perhaps sculpting afterwards once they're posed for a still image like this. Excellent work though. Next up we've got Tony Two Hands. I love this piece. A really great idea, really well put together. The characters are brilliant, the pose is lovely, and the composition is excellent too. The only slight thing is this character pops from the background really nicely, but the colours of this one are a bit too close to the background. The background's quite busy and the colours in here can be a bit busy as well. So what I might have done is change the colour of this character so it stands out from the background a bit more. Amazing piece though, really love this one. The next one's from Howling Cow. Nice story on this one, works well. I like the comic book design, that's quite clever. And Batman's arm coming out of the frame is a good idea. It's an excellent arm as well, so well sculpted. And I like these lines with the motion. You could have emphasised those a bit more in fact. They work really well. The only thing I would say, possibly work on the textures. This texture works, but I think Harlequin's hammer is a lot brighter than this, so you could have gone that direction. And the thump word in 3D looks very sharp and a bit dull in a sense of the colour, so the colour could have been brightened up a bit. Perhaps even put a slight emission on the text, and then it will really pop. Nice work though, well done. This one's from Scholas33. A nice piece here, good construction. So the rule of thirds being taken into account, so the moon being a focal point on one side and the grave being a focal point on the other and on the top third. So well done for that. Nice experimentation with the rocks. They're quite low poly in places, but the normal map gives it a fair bit of detail. The one major thing is, I would say, put something in the background so we can see the shapes here. If the background were lighter, maybe, then often you do get to sort of gradient with the background as things go off into the distance, they become desaturated and sort of lighter. Then this would have been silhouetted quite nicely, but nice work. This one's from Acris87. Absolutely love this. It's a really great style. The moon looks really awesome. The hand-painted textures have a lovely look to them. The story's really cool with the battle on the ship. Loads of effort gone into this with the planks of wood, and it's got this really cool cartoon style which looks amazing. Absolutely love this one. There is room for improvement, perhaps in the pose, make it a bit more movement because it's very sort of upright in both of the models. This one's very good in terms of the movement coming over the side of the boat like this, but a bit more of a dynamic pose, leg backwards, leaning forwards, perhaps the character who's defending leaning backwards, so there's more of a curved shape to it. But really nice piece. Those are minor details that I'm picking up on there. Absolutely fantastic work, love that one. This one's from Elneck. Love the idea, love the setting, love the environment. The characters are really cool, they've got this sort of rounded feel. It's a great idea to keep it simple like this, but the story's still there, the vibrancy, the cartoon style is still there, but very simple models because they're just shapes that are connected together. But it works really well, really nice. Absolutely love this piece. Perhaps working on the pose a bit more here. He could have been standing on the character, possibly. So his triumph a bit more complete if he was sort of standing and leaning backwards in a proud pose. Nice work though, well done. This one's from Manu, who remember to keep to the 1920 by 1080 rule, which means it will fill the screen when I'm doing these videos. But really nice piece, absolutely love it. I love this ribbon thing around him. What would have been really nice is to have some sort of effect on this so that it fades out, or it looks like some sort of glowing, swirly thing that's more created by his movement rather than just a ribbon looking thing. So perhaps working on the textures, but I really like the idea. The only other thing is the composition. The eyes are in an unusual place in the frame, and they tend to be on the top third. Not always, but tend to be. And I understand that with the hair and everything, it's difficult to position that in that case. But what you could have done is had a lot of space across here with the blue, and then sort of moved them up, made them smaller, and given them a bit more body. But it's nice work though, really like that. This one's from Vedera. Very nice piece, well done. Love the sculpt. And it's well presented as well, I like that. If you're going to do a character, but you have to present it in 1920 by 1080, then do a turnaround of the character like this. Perfect stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing the finished result. I know this is unfinished, but it's good to show some unfinished work sometimes. And there's a lot of time and effort gone into this. So really nice work, really well done. The next one's from Reinhard. They also got some feedback, and I remember seeing this one on the other channel. And it's definitely improved, the composition's nice. What we tend to do though, in photography and cinema, is to have what's called look room, so you have more space on the side that they're looking, unless there's something sneaking up behind this character, of course. So if they were pushed over to this side, they would have the look room, and then the corridor could be looking down this way, and it would follow the rule of thirds a bit better and be a slightly better composition. I love the lightning strikes, they look really cool. And all these little particles are quite clever. Really nicely designed character as well. Brilliant work. This one's from GHP Zin. This is quite a weird story. Maybe it's something that I don't know about in terms of characters or something and I haven't seen. Because he's got such a smiley face, he looks like he's a hero, and then he's doing something a bit nasty here. Actually, I think I get it now. This evil monster was trying to kidnap the kid by luring her in with sweets. I get it now. And this person is protecting the little kid. Clever stuff. I love this texture. It's really weird, but really good. And quite a funny location as well in terms of on the mountains like this. It really works. I really like it. I think probably a little bit too much on the textures on the coat here. It makes it look a bit sort of starchy, but it's a cool little scene. I like this. The next one's from Landry, who has probably the most scariest profile picture. Cool idea with the superhero kid. I went for the same thing myself. And it's an interesting idea with the light being knocked over like this and then shining up on the cat. So the cat almost looks like the villain in a way. Love the posters. I think I might have tried to experiment a bit more with lighting because it looks quite flat. Usually you have a lot of ambient occlusion in the gaps here, and it looks like the lighting is coming from the camera and therefore flattening it all out. So try and get a bit more depth, perhaps with some lighting coming down at an angle like this. Really nice scene, nice character. It might have even been better to have the character turn slightly so we could see a bit more of him. But great scene, absolutely love it. This one's a clever idea from Warspawn. World's best dad and hero elements obviously, which is picking up on my point that I made in the last blog post, that it's more about your ideas. They can be simple, and sometimes simple is better. And it makes it a really nice piece. I like the text and the thought that's gone into that. You could have gone a further subdivision, I think, with your render, and then it wouldn't look so blocky around the place. Like the coffee texture as well. I'm not sure about the background. I might have gone for a plainer gradient going this way. It distracts very slightly. It's very slight though. Really nice piece that. This one's from Aran 16.1. Love the idea. I like the lighting as well. This sort of shadow and coming from the side and towards the back like that gives it a more sinister tone. But there's a little story again of sort of kid playing, instructions, not getting it perhaps, going a bit weird and crazy. A fun, nice idea though. The colours of this one work really nicely. The only thing is the colours of the eyes seem a bit off. Obviously they look like they're added in a paint program or something like that, and you'd expect the light from this to be shining on the model, so perhaps putting a bit of yellow around here in your paint program would have been a good idea. But very nice, like it. This one's from Mattias, formerly known as 2TKs. And we've seen a similar thing from him in the last post. It's a good idea sometimes to reuse things, especially when you spend a lot of time making the model. Then if you can reuse it and get the most out of it, that's a great idea. I still think a bit of a blur in the background would have helped to make these buildings turn sort of bokeh or bokeh. I got in trouble for mispronouncing that last time. So bokeh or bokeh or bokeh. But fun idea again, liking the style. This one's from Craven. I like the use of the outlines, which is a fairly simple one click in Blender actually, but it works really nicely here. Gives it that cartoon style. I like the idea of the shadow, so there's a nice story happening. Nice, simple, works well though. I probably would have moved all this over here a bit more so we can make more of the shadow, because I would say this bit of the image, there's not much happening. So moving the frame into this sort of area perhaps. And also the wall in the background seems a little out of place, a bit close to the grave and the tree and just a bit out of place, but nice image. This one's from Jarius. I really like this piece, absolutely fantastic. A lot of work, a lot of thought gone into this. I mean, it's the story that we probably all know with the bat signal. I like the fog and the depth of field here. Having something in the foreground gives your image quite a lot of depth. So well done there with the composition, great thinking. And also in the background we've got those lights, but they're quite dim in the city, and that works really nicely. But then you've got these bright lights as well. And then of course, the brightest light where our eyes are drawn to is the bat signal. Love the whole makeup of this light as well. Really great stuff. One of my favourites. This one's from Lucas R. Clever idea with the sort of Rick and Morty style thing going on here with the portals that they have. And there's sort of an evil version of himself coming to get him. Nice idea, good composition, but I probably would have had this off to the side a bit more and made more out of the portal, just to use up some of the space perhaps. And a tiny bit of work needed on the sculpt in places, but really nice work though. Do like it. Those are minor points. Really nice piece. This one's from LinkXK64. Loving the idea of this one. Really nice. Great story. And there's a lot of effort gone into the aspects of the story, even down to the guitar in the background. The textures are really nice. The dust element. The lighting's very good. And tiny details like the character up here, the remote control over this side. That looks like a fidget spinner though. So how far are we in the past at this stage? And the stickers as well. All the wires spread out around the place. The only really minor thing for me is I'm not sure what this shape is. Is it the arm of a chair or something? Which is a very slight distraction. I don't know, that I'm being really picky now because it's just such a great piece. And the controller, I'd probably like that at a slightly more angular direction. I'm being really petty because it's such a great image, such a brilliant image. Absolutely love this. And I'd be really proud of this if I'd done this. The depth of field really works for this sort of piece because it would be a low light photograph and you get a lot of depth of field because you have to open up your aperture. There's just so much going for it. Brilliant piece. This one's from Wizard. Love this piece as well. It's got a real vibrancy even though it's only got a tiny amount of colour. It's a really simple idea as well, and obviously these characters are repeated around the place, and that's what I mean by the simplicity of the model. The story's great with the character picking up and helping out the old man, and we can see he's an old man because he's got a cane. I really love this one, really fantastic again. There's just one minor thing about the angle. I might have preferred it if it was a bit steeper, and that might just be a preference thing. But perhaps something worth thinking about, because at this angle we don't get a lot of depth. It would have been nice to have a sort of leading line leading us into the picture a bit more, and then these characters over here a bit, right at the end of this leading line, if that makes sense. But that's a really minor point, and it might just be a preference thing. Such a cool image, love it. And really creative idea as well. Thanks for that. This one's from Jost. It's just a big robot helping a little childlike robot out of the fire. But he's actually got the flamethrower in his hand, so he started the fire in the first place. So he's half a villain and half a hero. I like the idea of the story there, Jost. Well put together, I really like it. Nice scene and a good idea to have it on the cant or at an angle. I like the plane and the bunny rabbit or whatever it is in the background there, they look cool. I think perhaps a bit more light from these flames, so you don't have to bump up the emission of the objects, but just put lights in that are yellowy colours around the place, and then it brightens everything up. And you won't get so much noise as well with the render. Nice work. Here's one from Green Lucid. Love this piece as well. That's a good use of a lens flare. I often see lens flares just added in randomly, but they should be on bright lights, and especially the sun. And they do sort of come across the lens. Usually if the sun was over here, you'd get more of a lens flare. Nice work on that one. Like the clumps of grass, that's good use of grass and the right kind of proportions as well. The sand looks good. This is a great scene, this one, really like it. With the angle I might have been tempted to just put him over here a bit more. This is a really minor point. And maybe a tiny bit closer so he's a tiny bit bigger in frame. He could even have the sun right behind him. So he's sort of bursting through and the light's bursting out. But that's a really minor point. I like the cloth material of this jacket, the leather material of this jacket, it looks great. The gun looks a tiny bit blocky and a bit too plasticky, but again, that's a minor point, and perhaps a bit too much of a bump here. Really nice piece of work though, absolutely fantastic. Here's an interesting one from Vedera. I think this is sort of a Spartacus type theme with the Roman soldiers and people being hung. And his phrase was, "It's a long way to become a hero." Interesting idea. Good composition with the people leading off into the background, so it's got lots of depth. The background image looks a little bit unusual because we've got lots of clarity here, so this is all very sharp, and then it's suddenly blurry, so watch out for that a bit. And perhaps a bit of a denoising would help you. Nice work though, I do like the theme, that's a clever one. This is an interesting one from Hon Apple Pie. So they've only been using Blender for 2 months, and I think they've done a really great job here. I think they ran out of time, but otherwise they might have put some things in the background here, and a background in itself would have been quite nice as well. But clever little idea there, where the hero's base is about to be bombed by some sort of evil villain. Nice idea, I like it. Here's one from the duck. Love this style. People are doing really well with this cell-shaded style at the moment. It's nice to see. It's a bit weird with the water that's coming out of the bucket. That seems a little bit weird and strange, as it sort of breaks off in places and goes a bit unusual. I really like this character. The colours and everything and the composition really work. It's just amazing. The background's probably a bit too vibrant because it distracts from the rest of the image, so blur it loads or lighten it, so desaturate it lots, and that would help you. Here's one from M. Dimarov. Scary bunch of villainous people by the looks of things here. I like the composition. It's a good idea with the tallest and then going down at an angle like that. A low angle as well of the camera makes them look dominant in frame. Great idea, great thinking. Nice piece that. Do like all the weapons in the background as well. Here's one from Sekulow. He came in a tiny bit late, but I let him off. I'm liking the idea, quite creative. Some weird sort of metaball materials happening here. Possibly think a bit about the composition, because I can't tell who's the villain, who's the hero, and how they're quite fighting, or are they fighting even. So maybe more facing each other. So choose your angles carefully. But nice lot of work gone into this. Nice idea with the character designs. And here's another one from Javed Akhtar, aka the Human Pikachu. Really like this, really nice style, well put together, well composed. A lot of work gone into this. It's not easy to create anime characters and make them work in Blender. The only thing is using the outline on the mountains didn't quite work, so maybe render that on a separate layer and take it into Photoshop or something similar, and then just desaturate it slightly. That would have worked just that bit better. But that's a really minor point again. Absolutely love this piece, brilliant work. This one's from Aran. It's a good fun idea with the cat on the lap. Good shot construction with the over the shoulder shot here. Would have been nice to see something in the background though. Nice work. And this one's from Plotnik. Similar to his last piece of work, the Pumpkin Knight. I really like his style. He's got some fantastic pieces of low poly work. It's a great example of how you can simplify things, but give them your own style, your own take. Excellent stuff. So really well done to everybody there, absolutely fantastic work, and I would say my favourites are from Javed Akhtar. Wizards one was really fantastic, Link XK64, Jarius and Acris86, they were all fantastic pieces, but the winner for me is Link XK64, well done, you get your picture on the Wall of Fame. I really love this piece, and I'd be really proud of it if I'd made it, certainly. There's so much going on here, the lighting, the composition, all those little details, absolutely brilliant, wonderful piece. Well done to those other ones that I mentioned as well, you're really close, but this one just pushed it to that next level. So the category for the next competition is fantasy. I think I'm going to open it up to 2D as well, so for the artists out there who are 2D based, you can join in as well. The deadline for that will be on the 26th, so that's Monday the 26th. So you've got just under 2 weeks, but hopefully some of you saw the theme the other day. Thanks to all those who submitted for this one, really great work in there, really pleased to see them all, and I'm looking forward to the next one and seeing what you come up with next time. Thanks very much for taking part, and thanks for watching.